This month, you're in for a very special treat. We collaborated with the outstanding hip-hop producer Bazzazian and released a set of incredible tools with his unmistakable dark and melancholic signature sound. All sounds in the Bazzazian Expansion and the play instrument Bazzazian Tapes were heavily processed through his finest rack gear and boutique pedals. The texture of them is just mind-blowing, and when I started to work with them, it almost felt like a little head start. I became hyper-inspired. So this time, I have not only one, but 3 super dope beats ready for you to show. And I'm also going to be exploring some possibilities on how to start a track from scratch. The Bazzazian Expansion comes with a number of heavyweight kits that feel like they weigh a ton. In my first beat, I'm rolling with the Around kit because it has a very unique drone which is running in the background, and it comes from a sample called Pulse D Major Around 1, and I just assume it's been recorded from Bazzazian's synthesizer crate directly into Maschine. If we take a close listen here to that sample, we can hear that there's some kind of modulation. Although it's one note only, every now and then kind of an LFO is kicking in, bringing in some distortion over and over again. It's manipulating the harmonic content of only one note. So although you have very monotonous source material, it adds some texture and even a little bit of tempo and rhythm to it. Pulse D Major Around sample is matching perfectly the 808, which is on pad number 1. Let's bring it in. Interestingly, once I bring in the 808, the Pulse D Major Around sample is ducked a little bit. This is due to a compressor in the signal chain of the Pulse D sample. You can find it here, and if I go to page number 2, I can touch that knob and it shows me that this Pulse D sample is sidechained by the 808 from Group A1 Sound 1, which is the 808. And yeah, they go perfectly hand in hand. They roll on the side and they give this very nice foundation to add some more things to. Let's bring in some more drums. I've chosen the Demons kit. It features some more closed hi-hats and an additional side stick sample on every 2 and 4 of the bar. I replaced some of the original samples of the Demons kit with another kick drum and another snare drum that I found in the library. And speaking of kick drums, let me show you some of my favorite kick drums here in the library. Kick 8. That distortion, it just hits right into my belly here. Big bat, a little bit of a short one that is perfect to be layered into longer bass kicks. Doppelsuchuk hits hard. Doppelsuchuk 3 hits even harder. You're definitely in for a treat, and the same goes for the snare drums. Let's check out some of my favorite snares here. The snare 8. Snare Bandscheibe. Bazzazian really hits the spot when it comes to hard-hitting drums with a strong transient plus a perfectly polished tail at the end. So yeah, I could go here for hours and hours, but for this track, I'll be rolling with the Kick-Anti-Haltung 1 and the snare tiptoe number 2. So let's listen to this. Let's bring in sound 15. It's called Glockenspiel. And it's just that little one note that comes in the background of that kit, matching the drone of Group A. In Group A, there is a little melody played with a pulse D major Araum sample coming from Bazzazian's crate. Very easy melody, just 3 notes repeating over and over again. And that's it for the verse of this beat. Let's move over to the scene menu and see what's there. There's a little fill-in scene that I created to have a little drop from time to time. We are moving over to the chorus section. This features a broken loop kit. Let me solo that quickly. It's an absolutely destroyed, clunky, metallic sounding kit. Which cuts through no matter what's on top of it. I also switched up the tone of the 808, so it's falling down in every second bar, high and low. And together with that lead, it comes together and forms chorus part. The 2 sounds that I've been using here for that lead are coming from the sounds category in the Bazzazian expansion. The first preset is called Algorithmus, the second one is called Biggie. And they both play the same melody almost in unisono, but if you look here closely, I've delayed the Algorithmus pattern just a tiny little bit, so they never play on top of each other. It smears a little bit. It's almost like I'm re-triggering an arpeggiator over and over again. And this, again, gives me a little bit more texture than the usual one-sounded melody. Let me just solo the Algorithmus preset here. That's the algorithm on its own. And here comes the Biggie. It just gives this perfect melange of a little lead melody that can be used. Let's move over to the next section, which I called kaputt. And kaputt is the German word for damaged or destroyed. In this section of the song, I wanted to have a disruptive sound coming in from time to time. I browsed the one-shot category here in the library a little bit and stumbled upon this sample called Synth C Bass Duet. It's one note with a little bit of a pitch envelope on top, so it sounds a little broken. There's more. There's the sound effects Drillance 1 and another version, pitch down, which is just a noisy white noise sample on top, and the noise 90 pump gun, which is a loop. All four samples together form this very disruptive noise, and I added it to the existing pattern. In a very certain way. Instead of putting this disruptive sound on every first beat of every bar, I decided to get a little bit minimal music this time, a little bit of Steve Reich. Basically, with every bar that goes by, the sound is shifted by 1/8 note. So you're not building up any habit while you're listening to it, and you're surprised every time it comes in. And the next repetition goes on the 1 end. And in the next bar, we hear the 2. And in the last repetition, we hear the 2 end. So it stays fresh all the time. That one hits hard. I could imagine someone spitting a couple of bars on top of this right now. But we move over to the next verse, and I want to bring back the 3-finger melody from the very beginning. Instead of the pulse sample that we've used earlier, I replaced it with a preset from the Bazzazian Tapes Play instrument, which we are going to take a look at later in this tutorial. But for now, let's bring in the 3-finger melody again with a preset called Damaged Ska. Same melody with a total different texture, man. I added some automations here on that sound. Let's solo this quickly. So you hear there's a reverb coming in from time to time, and the flare is going on. Let's take a closer look. I automated the flare parameter all through the pattern. This gives this kind of bowy string feel. Let's go back. Maybe one more fill. And back to the chorus. All right, we nailed the first beat. Let's move over quickly to beat number 2. Now, this one was super fun to work on. And actually, it started off from a pattern that I got from another expansion called Lockdown Grind. It's called the County Kit, and it sounds like this. 808s, snare drums, and this kind of melodic closed head pattern that goes on top of this. Now, did you know that you can take any pattern in Maschine and apply it to another kit by drag and dropping it? Let's check it out. First, make sure to right-click the group name and make sure that you select sounds to MIDI channels here in the group MIDI batch setup. That is very important because now you can hit that little icon here, and this is going to create a MIDI file that you can bring to any other group that you floated in that project. So here on group number B, I have the Yok kit from the Bazzazian expansion. Let's listen to what happens when I drop that MIDI pattern to the Yok kit. I'm going to be muting the County kit. That is exactly the same pattern that we've heard before with all those drums playing from Lockdown Grind. But with that Yuck kit, it's getting more into a melodic territory. And I feel like the sounds almost like a bolero type of melody. It's like a really, really Spanish. So what if we take that pattern and drag and drop it to another kit, also from the Bazzazian expansion, called Kopping. Kopping is Kölsch. It's a German accent and it means headache. So let's drop it to the Kopping kit. There's a drum beat that matches the melody perfectly, and if we take a look, it's actually the same pattern. They play on top of one another. Let's do that one more time and drag that MIDI over to the dark kit. Now get ready for some head nod. So it's 3 times the same pattern, all on top of one another. Sounds like a club banger out of a sudden. Let's bring in one more kit with a little bit of a different pattern called Ballerine. And bring back these other ones. Break and smashing. All right, folks, let's switch it up one more time. Beat number 3. It's based on the Kettensäge kit, which is originally coming from a track called Morgenstern by Haftbefehl, Auf die Haftbefehl. It's an amazing original track, just check it out. It's an absolute banger. And in the Kettensäge kit, we get access to the original 808 sounds. Here in the intro, I'm using the high-passed filtered version of this, together with the Lottafx kit. The Lottafx is a collection of internal drum synth presets, and all of them are saturated very heavily. But again, here distortion helps us to put color into our rhythms here, and it also creates a little bit of a fearful atmosphere, which I like. I mean, listen to this. It sounds like there are some dogs barking in the background, like, let's get them out in scene number 2, which I call Die Hunde. So here the Kettensäge 808 is doing its thing, and I'm getting really anxious and nervous right now. What's gonna happen next? Let's see, and push it to scene number 3. Bring in some drums. Feeling like I'm chased by that drum kit at the moment. Let's take a closer listen. It's called Lauf kit, and Lauf is German for run, and it really makes me run. That snare drum is really chasing me through that beat, and that 16 hi-hat pattern, man, it's creating a sense of urgency, which is really nice. And I replaced the original bass kit with Kick Big Bad number 1, also from the Bazzazian library, because I think it hits much tighter than the other one. So let's bring back the 808s. Also, one very important detail here in this first verse is the Reso echo on the Kettensäge kit, which actually creates a stereo spread once I'm moving into the verse. Check this out, the quick A/B test here without Reso. very closed sound, very mono. And now I flip it to the sides. And out of a sudden, the 808 becomes much more powerful and broad in the stereo field. But I'm going to be moving to the next section, which features some melodic bits and pieces, like this xylophone called Xylo Down the Drain, coming from the Bazzazian Tapes Play instrument. So let's take a closer look at this and bring up the user interface and check out some of the presets. It comes with the play instrument typical 8 knobs that you can use to change the sound right away. So let's add some automation on top and bring in some lo-fi grid together with a reverb, and at the end some delay and saturation, and back to 0. It's about time to switch it up a little bit and go into verse number 2. The 808 pattern switches up a little bit. The hi-hat goes down by 1 octave. And there's the yuck kit that you've seen in beat number 2 already, and I've used a couple of these distorted samples to go together with the Xylo Down the Drain from the play instrument. Let's move over to the next scene called Drop in Ocean. Beautiful. There's a pad from Bazzazian Tapes called All Bows. Let's take a look at this. And this flute melody. The idea was to open up that track in the very last third and become a little bit more epic and wavy. Let's bring back the hi-hats one more time. Here, the hi-hats. I noticed that they're coming in very, very late. So although this is a sample here from the library, it's been recorded in a way that the hi-hats are delayed a little bit. So they're not fully on the grid, but a little bit behind. This makes them shine through even if you have other hi-hats already playing in the pattern. Let's switch up the flute a little bit and drive that song home. It's been an amazing journey through the crates of Bazzazian's production library, and I hope it gave you a good peek into both the expansion and the Bazzazian Tapes Play instrument. Let me know in the comment section which of the 3 beats you were digging the most, and don't forget to hit the bell and subscribe to the NI YouTube channel. Thanks for watching and see you again soon.